Welcome to another episode of Area 51.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. It's We've been getting some pretty good numbers on our episodes, and it's always heartwarming to see folks listen to our stuff. So thanks for tuning in, and we've got some exciting stuff lined for you today.
And we actually have somebody else other than us on the podcast, a really accomplished person, a filmmaker to say the least, at least one of her accomplishments. I'd like to introduce Vidyut Latay to our podcast episode. Hi, Vidyut.
Hi,
How's everything going?
going great. How are you guys doing?
Doing well. Thanks for agreeing to come on our show. Appreciate it.
Of course, more than happy to be here.
So Sanjay and I started this podcast to talk about Indians living in the US. And one thing we have understood is that you can't talk about Indians living here without bringing our favorite topic of discussion, which is the immigration backlog. And we keep hoping for reform. We keep having passionate debates about this issue with our friends, but we never bring it on a public platform. But today we have you here with us. You're someone who's a filmmaker who's put your skills and powers to good use, coming out of the documentary called Alien. We're so excited to talk about that and how it's going to impact all of us here and the message that it contains. So welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here and looking forward to an alien chat.
So I'm going to go ahead and ask the first question. What was your inspiration for the title of this documentary?
Yeah, I know. Quite a title, right? Because we are talking about whenever we talk about immigrants, at the end of the day, we do talk about belonging and how we can be included and how we can be a part of the system and, of course, of this country. But yeah, the title Alien is, and there's a story to it. You'll have to bear with me. I arrived in this country in 2006.
Okay.
I married my, college best friend, sweetheart, and we were like, young
Nice.
and we just arrived here. We met in Baroda and then we got married. He was already here in the US. He had come here in 2003, but I was
Okay.
working there in the media industry and I quit everything and got married and came here. The first step it was in at San Francisco International Airport.
Okay.
And it was my first international travel. Okay,
Okay.
remember that. So it was my
Okay.
first time I was stepping out of India. Very
Wow.
excited, newly married, just, in all that excitement. We arrived. And the first thing, of course, you have to go through immigration, right? So
Of
before
course.
anything you can begin doing in a new country, you have to go through immigration. And and my husband is a very practical person. He was like, come on, let's quickly finish the immigration. We have to get the baggage and then we have to drive like 45 minutes, 1 hour, to Santa Clara where he had his home there,
Okay.
and our new home. So I said, oh yeah, sure, let's do that. And then we stepped out of the aircraft. We are getting into that immigration, area.
Uh-huh.
And I suddenly see, it's a vast area and there are these like two distinct queues, right?
Okay.
And one is labeled as US citizens. I'm like, okay. And the
Okay.
other is labeled as aliens. And I
Wow.
still
Oh,
remember
wow.
that. Yeah.
What a welcome. What a welcome to the United States.
Yes, exactly. And I just literally froze in that moment. And he's like, what happened? I'm like, alien? Who are aliens? And he's like, that's us, immigrants. I'm like, wow. And, so that was the moment I still remember that moment. And I would say that was the trigger. 2006 was the trigger. Because I have to be honest with you, I was so upset. I was so sad, disgusted, disappointed throughout the journey from San Francisco to Santa Clara. And we were newly married. And my husband was like, are you okay? Are you liking it? Are you looking at the roads? How is it? I'm like, whatever. I don't care, Just the fact that, that actually I'm I'm called an alien in this country. That stuck with me. And not that, immediately, of course, after going there, we started getting acclimatized with our new lives.
Right.
But it stayed with me. And being a media person, I always wanted to make my film. So I started working on actually a film about H4 visas because I was on on a H4 visa. But
Wow.
then later on, I realized that, the broken immigration, or for that matter, the immigration issues that haunt, especially Indian immigrants, is much,
Uh-huh.
much, larger and beyond just a H4 visa, right?
Okay.
So I, in fact, stalled that project and went ahead and made another documentary about deaf people in India. But
Wow.
this documentary stayed with me. It's not that,
Okay.
I shelved the project and I said, okay, I'm not going to do anything about it. And then later on, I decided that I really want to make this film about high skilled legal immigrants. And then my
Right.
husband said, you should have the title Alien. I'm like, really? He said, yeah, because I have seen your reaction to that word. And instead of thinking of any other title, just, have it as Alien. I'm like, okay, it's
So
Alien. So he
so it's
actually
like a
suggested it.
17-year journey then, right? It's like a
Yes, it is.
17-year journey since you
Mm-hmm.
first, and it's crazy you've kept that. I mean, it must have affected you so much that
Yeah.
it stayed with you for 17 years.
Yeah.
That's insane.
And not just that, I think you must be one of those few people who actually commits to something that you have an idea of. Because, like, I don't know, Rahul, for you, but I have like tons of these hobby projects and stuff that I had in mind, but like they just die in that, land where all my dreams go unfulfilled. With this is probably one of those people, like, literally from 2006 and
I
like
know, right?
moving.
When the
Yeah,
moment she said that date, I was like, oh my god. I was like, wait a minute, that was like 17 years ago.
that's amazing.
That's a
That's just.
dinosaur age.
But I have to be honest with you, the title is amazing. Like,
Thank
that's how I
you.
found out about this. I was telling Sanjay, some folks that I follow on LinkedIn, right? They posted about this. Then I saw the title and I saw the trailer, and it just hit. It hit so hard. I was like, damn, someone's finally done it. And I just loved the title. I have to say, it's just amazing.
Thank you. I'll let my husband know.
And no, that is the thing. Like, it's I think a lot of people don't see how jarring a term like that can be, especially like America touts itself as the land of opportunity where everybody's welcome. Like, I remember this. Like, I think there's this famous speech by Ronald Reagan, where like he was saying that you can be a French citizen, but you can't be a Frenchman, or like you can be a
Yeah.
German citizen, you
Yeah.
you can't be a German, but
Yeah.
you come to America, you can actually be American. Like, there's
Yes.
no like a particular ethnicity or anything. It's so diverse, and for somebody who's more coming to the United States for the first time, like changing their livelihood and like moving to
Yeah.
a new country, the first thing they are facing is something like this. Like, you are literally considered extraterrestrial. You are
Yeah.
not part of this hallowed
Exactly.
ground.
And see, we have all grown up, with a notion about who that, alien, that word alien has some meaning, and and rhetoric matters, according to me. Of course, if you're sitting close friends, with a bunch of 3, 4 people, and if you're just blabbering
Yeah.
anything, nobody will ever care, what you say. But when you're putting it at, at such a, at such an open forum, like something like an international airport, where people from all walks of life, from different parts of the world, and just look at I mean, the irony is that, it's at San Francisco, okay, which is like the
Yep.
melting pot, like,
Yep.
I mean, could you even imagine any other place, right? San Francisco, and just imagine like Silicon Valley, right? With
Yeah.
its
Yeah.
proximity
Yeah.
to Silicon Valley, most of the techies or whoever is coming from different parts of the world, they would probably be coming to San Francisco. Of course, you have San Jose International Airport, but still, San Francisco is the hub. So that was the biggest, irony. I felt, oh my God, like if you're labeling people as aliens, and these are all these people coming from different parts of the world, it's so unwelcoming, right? You could think of a better word. Come on. I mean,
And just in
there's no
case
dearth
people
of
misunderstood, they've added non-resident as well. Non-resident alien. Just
no
alien wasn't bad enough.
non-resident alien. Correct. Exactly. I mean, that is again, yeah. So that alien word, and we all grew up with some understanding of alien. We know
Yeah.
who aliens are. And then if you ask, like I have a 7-year-old son, and I asked the other day, I was telling him about my film. And he's like, oh, okay. So what is it called, mommy? I'm like, it's called Alien. So he's like, oh, okay. He's like, Alien? So who
The
are
concept is
aliens?
alien to him.
Exactly. So I asked him, I said, do you know, like who are aliens? And he told me who aliens are. And he exactly described, what Steven Spielberg films have taught us. And I was like, you know what? Mommy and daddy are called aliens here. He's like, really? His eyes were wide open and he's just
Yeah.
looking at me. I said, exactly. So yeah, so that's why, I'm very sensitive about that, that
Right.
title and, that word. And I just felt that it's very important for the larger, public to know what it feels. So, it's just to live with that term, because we have all these alien numbers,
Yep.
advance parole,
Like you said, it's not we're not being made welcome at the end of the day. No.
exactly. That's where it is, I mean, if you are not, I mean, in a civilized world, in a first world country, which is built by immigrants, right? I mean,
Yep.
America is built by immigrants.
Yeah.
Yep.
Everybody
Yeah.
here is an immigrant. Some people
Yep.
came in centuries back, some people came in few years back.
Yep.
But everybody is an immigrant, unless you are an, absolutely,
Yeah.
you
A
know
Native
that you're a
American.
Yeah.
native born,
Yeah.
unless you're a native born. Otherwise, everybody is an immigrant. So nobody can really say that, oh, you are, this country belongs to me and not to you,
Yeah.
because you also have come from somewhere. Maybe you came centuries back, and that's the only difference. So that's why I feel all the more, it pinches you, it really hurts
Yeah.
you, because this is a country which is made by people like,
Yep.
us.
Agreed.
It's like incomprehensible for me to understand when somebody must have sat down and written this, right? Somebody has done it, right? When somebody puts some policies in place, these are all typed and written and, vetted by a bunch of people. So nobody thought about this. Like, alien, could we think of another word? I mean, that just shows that, I don't know. It's just baffling to me. I mean, I wish I
Oh,
really
that's really
get
funny
an
since you put it
opportunity.
like that.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is. And I mean, it just speaks to like how dysfunctional that system is, right? The last time some sort of change was made in any, immigration reform was before the internet, before
yes.
I think
Before the internet.
1993 or something like that, before Amazon or before.
1965 is the first time, any sweeping immigration reform
Yes.
happened, right?
Right,
1965,
right.
where it opened the
Opened up. Yep,
gates of immigration, right? And
yep,
then after that, there have been only derivatives. So,
right.
like the 1990 Immigration Act, of course, that is also important. But 1965 was the most pivotal moment. It is like, in fact, it has been said in so many research papers and data, which when I was researching, is that is the first time and the last time any
Okay.
sweeping immigration reform has
Yep.
happened. 1965, and in
Wow.
1990, of course, introduced the H1Bs and the quotas and the 7% per country cap. That all happened in 1990. However,
Wow.
from 1965 to 1990, and there have been few, derivatives, but
Okay.
nothing major has. And of course, and after that, any immigration reform attempt has miserably failed. We all know that,
Yep,
right?
yep,
Right.
yep. Exactly.
So yeah. So but yeah. So imagine 1965. Think about the world when it in 1965, then in 1990, and now we are in 2023.
Right.
We are
That's
still carrying on the the same
the
yeah.
legacy. It's like
Legacy.
running on Windows 3.1, like even
Correct.
today, right?
And that is the irony. Like, I was talking to doctors, during the interviewing of the film, and they were telling me, or even for software engineers, for everybody, we all have to keep updating ourselves, right?
Mm-hmm,
We
mm-hmm.
cannot say that this is what I learned during my graduation, and now
Yeah,
I don't care, just because my job requires me. I'm not going. We cannot afford to do that. You
yep,
keep updating yourself. You have to
Right.
learn new skills. You have to keep up with the world. What about immigration? Immigration has not kept up with the demands of the new world, right? Of the
It's
new
funny
country,
you
new
mentioned that.
generation.
The other day,
Sorry.
Sanjay and I were just playing around with Chat GPT we were like trying to do something for an episode, and we put in give us a funny take on H1B and the US immigration system, right? And Chat GPT, I'm not kidding, it just starts off saying, in this modern Hunger Games style of picking folks and letting them into the country, and it just goes on with references from Hunger Games, Game of Thrones kind of politics, and
Mhm.
it's hilarious. And this is just a machine that's giving us such astute observation. 1990 and 1965 has been what, decades, right?
Exactly. I mean,
it's
imagine 1965. I mean, that's really recorded. Like, that was the last time any sweeping immigration reform has happened. The derivatives have, of course, led to formation of so many things like H1B, and the
right, right.
7% country cap really didn't do anything
Yeah,
good,
yeah.
So
Speaking of that, like as a H1B occupation. So is this your full time job? Like when you were making the documentary, are you like fully involved in this, or how did you go about making this film?
yeah, no, that's a good question. So I have a background in media
Okay.
broadcasting in
Okay.
India. So I worked extensively for almost like 7, 8 years before moving to the US. I was working in the
Wow.
television industry as an executive
Okay.
producer. I started as an assistant director, producer, director,
Wow.
worked with people like Priya Tendulkar. I was the executive producer of
Wow.
Antakshari, one of the most
Oh yeah. Anu
popular
Oh,
Kapoor.
that's
programs on
awesome.
Yeah, Anu
yes,
Kapoor on
Anu
ZTV.
Kapoor,
Yeah.
Pallavi Joshi. Yes, so I was the executive producer for that program and several other programs on that channel. Then I moved on to Times of India, where they were launching a new lifestyle and entertainment channel called Zoom. So I was
Oh,
involved
okay.
during the launch of that channel. In India, we call it channel. Here, they call it network. I mean, it's the same thing, channel network.
Right.
So Zoom network. With that background, but somewhere down the line, I had always started feeling that I want to make my own films because as an executive producer, you're really in that creative supervisory role, where you're giving inputs and lots of suggestions, and you're working and schmoozing with producers and directors and all the creative people, and it's fascinating. I mean, I
Right.
enjoyed that role, but I wanted to do it myself. I wanted to get my own hands dirty. I'm like, I want to do it myself. So
Nice.
I was waiting really for the right opportunity. And so that's why, when we even decided that I will be moving here to US,
Okay.
or will my husband come back, because he said, I don't want, to mess up your life. And, because you're doing so well here in Mumbai. I said, no, no.
Okay.
And unknowns never really scare me. I actually
Okay.
like to get into unknown territories and just explore and, like to challenge myself. I think it's just me. So I said, no, no, let me
Nice.
see. Let me just come to US. Let's see. Come on, let me explore it. And then of
Challenge
course I came on
accepted.
it. Exactly. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like, yeah, of course. How bad can it be? I literally said, how bad can it be? I know I cannot work on H4, but come on, how is it even possible that you cannot work? I mean, see, the fact that when you're working and you're having an independent existence as a human being in Mumbai, really enjoying that, singlehood and having that independence, when you
Right.
move to US, okay, and you're suddenly taken away all those basic human rights of living and working for yourself and earning a livelihood. Just imagine
Yeah.
uh, in a first world country this is happening, that you are just deprived of that uh, your basic right to earn a living.
Because you just become an extension of your spouse for people who don't
Exactly.
understand, right? You get married and come here
Yeah,
and they're
you are
like, they're just so
dependent.
fascinated by the high life. And then they didn't understand that you just become an extension of your husband or wife, whoever it is who has a visa and who's sponsoring
And
you. And it sucks.
I understand. See, there are people who make those choices. That's totally fine. That should be their choice. I
Right.
I I completely believe in choices, right? I mean, everybody any civilized person in today's world, that if you don't want to work, I mean, come on. I mean, if you don't want to do that, that's totally your choice. But if somebody wants to
Mhm.
work, earn money, and then you are deprived, of doing that, that's not
Right.
right, right? We are talking about choices here. So, of course, if my choice was here to come and be independent, that was definitely not going to happen, right? So, when you
Yeah.
ask me, do I do this as full time? I wanted to do this as a full time job, but then,
Hmm.
I came here on H4. I started studying because you cannot really survive in this country unless you are educated in this
Yep.
country. You cannot really get good jobs. That was something I was always told. So of course I went through GRE and TOEFL, got an
Wow.
Oh,
admission in San Francisco University, and I was happy to go back to studies. Actually, it was a welcome change for me. After having a good, executive level position, it was like, okay, let me be a student. Let me just explore that. It was
Right.
fun. I made some really great friends from all over the world. Again, San Francisco, melting pot of so many different cultures and
cultures. Yeah.
ethnicities. It was really fun. So I did that, and then but what a year for me to get into the job market. 2008, 2009. We all know what
Wow.
happened.
Wow.
So
It's the best ever time to graduate.
exactly, right? Yeah, I graduated and everything just, yeah, everything just tanked. I'm like, okay. So I was almost like working on OPT without any pay for almost 1 year of that OPT.
Wow.
I was just volunteering. And then I realized that then I got a job into a nonprofit, a filmmaking nonprofit, which is great. However, I realized that if I want to sustain my filmmaking, independent filmmaking is challenging because at the
Right.
end of the day, you're either using your own funds or applying for grants, getting donations. So, or doing some freelancing job. So, maneuvering through all that while making your own film is always very challenging. It's literally like you have to wear, several hats just to make your films happen. And then in 2000, in fact, I mean, now I'm really moving forward. In 2018, I was doing, lots of freelancing jobs. Got an opportunity to work with producers and directors like Davis Guggenheim, who made an
Oh, wow.
Inconvenient Truth. Yeah. So had some really great exposure
That's
while working
big,
in Los
Vidyut. That's
Angeles.
awesome.
Yeah, I was really lucky, and he's such an awesome person, and really enjoyed working with him and his crew. And then I realized after moving to New York that okay, if I'm going to work with a production company throughout the day and then come back and make my own film, it's really going to mess up my mind, because I need something which goes a little beyond than what I really want to do. And then I transitioned into tech in 2018,
Wow.
2017, 2018. I
Wow.
decided that I want to become a designer, a user experience designer, because I just felt that, as a documentary filmmaker, we delve a lot into, showcasing problems and, delving a lot into just, getting out what the issue is all about. But I mean, of course, you can find solutions like, by partnering with people and collaborating with right organizations and all. But I really wanted to be a part of the solution. So somewhere I felt that, UX design was a step forward. It was like an extension of what I was already doing as a documentary filmmaker. So I have transitioned for my day job as a user experience designer, and then I manage my filmmaking in the
Wow.
nights, like I'm
That's
talking to at 10:30
Nice.
and
amazing. Yeah,
and
that's
weekends and holidays. So yeah, that's how I sustain my filmmaking now. Yeah.
So one phrase you said stood out, which is
Mhm.
being part of the solution, right? And
Yeah.
I've seen your other documentary, Beyond Silence.
Hmm.
I saw that, and
Thank
so I
you.
know that you're a filmmaker who likes to provide an insight into communities whose
Mm.
struggles are often ignored by the majority. So looking at the trend, I see okay, Beyond Silence, which is on the plight of deaf people.
Yeah.
You've got Alien, which is on this. So you always like this throughout. You're like you see a problem and you're like, you know what, I need to fix this. And
Yeah.
is that something that drives you to accomplish a lot of things that you've done?
Yeah, I mean that's very nice of you to say. You're right. Actually, you did somewhere. I mean, as I said earlier, right, that I don't get um rattled, or I don't get scared by unknown areas or unknown aspects of life. It's like when I entered into the world of deaf people, that was not intimidating, because otherwise, because I don't know sign language, nor did I have anybody, in my um, close circles who had gone through that experience, of having deafness. However, just for me, the fact that, when I was working on that film, the statistics were so jarring. Like India arguably has the largest deaf population in the world. And at that
wow.
time, the official number of sign language interpreters was just 250. So there was like 18
Whoa.
million.
The
Yeah.
whole of India.
Yes, people who are trained and educated to be sign language interpreters, right? So that was like when I
Wow.
heard, and I mean, it was just bizarre. And for me, it was like, okay, there's this statistics of 18 million people, that are
And that's an
deaf.
official count, right? Like
That's an
it
official count.
yeah.
Yes, that's an official count. I mean, let's not, I mean, if you ask people, I mean, if you actually, I have a longer version of the documentary also, Rahul. I'm happy to share that link with you, because that's
Of
still a
course.
password
I
protected
would
link.
love to see it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, we can
because the
add it in
one
the
that
show
is,
notes for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Because the one that is there on
It was
YouTube,
15
because that
minutes
was
on
on
YouTube.
PBS.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a 15-minute because that was on PBS also.
Okay.
But yeah, I have a longer version. In that, in fact, when I've gone into extensive interviews, people have actually said that, yeah, there are just one or two sign language interpreters, because there are just one or two people who really understand the nuances of sign language the way deaf people would like them to understand, right? So education and
Wow.
training is one thing, but the implementation and the use of it is another thing. So at that time it was like that, when I shot the documentary. So you're right. So for me it was just fascinating, but it was fascinating in the terms, I would say it was disturbing, that this is so wrong,
Yeah.
this is not right. And again,
100%.
for me, I guess the bent of mine was the same. that I wanted to put a face on that statistics, which is something I've done again, for Alien also.
Yes.
That when you talk about 18 million deaf people, who are these people? What are their lives? What are their emotions? What are their struggles? What are their day-to-day lives? So that is what I showed in that film too. And that's what I've done in Alien. That when you talk about 1.4 skilled immigrants are waiting for green cards, and then there is this multi-decade backlog. Like, who are these people who are really going through that? It's not just plain statistics on paper, or you can just look at it and just click some other button and go out of that whatever page you're reading. So yeah, so I guess that is the I think that is the quest that I have, that I really want to know why
Awesome.
situations are the way they are. It's like, why is it like that? And I think,
Yeah.
that is where it really
And
overlaps
be a
with
part of the
my,
solution.
yeah, UX designer thing. And yeah, and then why not be a part of solution?
Yeah, absolutely.
And
Awesome.
and for me, finding any solution starts with accepting and acknowledging the problem.
Mhm.
Unless you do that, you can never ever get to the solution. Right? Now, if high scale immigration, I mean, of course, we as a community, people who go through visa issues and backlog issues, know that is a problem. But unless the larger, in the public domain, there is no penetration of this thing, that this is a problem.
And yeah, speaking of, finding a solution for this big hairy monster of a problem, like I understand on a high level that Alien is a story of the journey of like 5 families in different states who are in this system, who are stuck in the system. So I mean, without giving spoilers or the entire like storyline of what it is, could you tell us a little bit more about those families, where they come from, like, and what was a particular reason you decided to choose them? We'd love to hear that.
Yeah. So yeah, I have 5 families. I mean, of course, I interviewed a lot of people who were um, stuck in the green card backlog. They were on at various stages of in their green card process.
Hmm.
Some of them were on H4 visas and
Hmm.
H1Bs. But then ultimately, you when you have to build the narrative, right? You have
Hmm.
to basically you have to build a story. So for that story, I kind of filtered it down to these 5 families,
Okay.
um, and then the idea was that I wanted to show as much as possible diverse representation. So I have doctors. I have 2 doctors. I have one psychologist. And now
Wow.
the psychologist was very important for me because we were dealing during that time pandemic, right?
Oh
And
wow.
yeah,
Right.
so and it has been recorded that World Health Organization had already said that along with pandemic, depression and anxiety was the biggest pandemic during that time world over.
Wow.
And psychologists and people from that field were really busy and trying and working hard to make communities sane and fully functional with their abilities and lending their expertise. So I do have a psychologist who she was a community sorry, I should say that community clinical psychologist who was
Okay.
working. And then what
Okay.
happened with her visa, and so we have a story about that. We have story of 2 scientists
Wow.
who are absolutely brilliant, and they want to start their companies, and we have a story about them. We have 2 entrepreneurs, again husband wife, a couple,
Okay.
uh
Okay.
who want to start companies, and they tell about their story. And then we have story of Sunaina. Everybody knows about Sunaina Dubala
Right.
and the
Right.
tragic situation she and her family had to go through
Yep.
because of what happened to her husband. He was shot by a white supremacist. So we have so the doctor couple that I was talking about, they have a daughter who is going to turn 21. So they are going that their families, I mean, of course they are stuck in a green card backlog, but their stories about the aging out of the kid, and then
And
how
and
they are
to
coping with that situation.
yeah, and to give our listeners some context, like the in the current system, how it is that if you haven't received your green card, like you're only midway through the process, like for folks who are Indian nationals, because there's such a,
Yeah.
I don't know, 100+ year queue backlog right now.
Mm.
If their minors or dependents turn 21, they cannot be on a dependent visa anymore, and they need to switch out. And that's caused a lot of kids like to age out of the
Yeah.
system. Like it's such a fine loophole. I don't like, and comes back to what you were talking about, this idea of immigration reform that happened in 65. I don't think the folks then could envision a time where, like, oh, you would have these many people coming in, that there'd be a backlog, and you'd have dependents and kids aging out of the system.
Right.
And it's so crazy that all of that is coming out, and still nothing is being done about it. It's pretty
So
sad.
to add a note there, I mean, I think it's important to give credit where credit's due. And USCIS, being notoriously slow, they still recently in the last 1-2 months, we kind of spoke about this in our last episode.
Yep.
They have made an update to this, which is nice to know that we're slowly but steadily moving in the right direction. Emphasis on slowly, but I think it's good that there is something out there now. I think they've changed the way they calculate the aging out
Yep.
calculation.
I think it's the date of filing rather than the final action date, or something
Exactly.
something along those, like.
People are unhappy because we're not addressing the larger solution in itself.
Exactly.
But I was happy that I'll take it. I'll take it.
Yeah, no,
At
it's
this
a
point,
what
any
I
change
heard.
is great.
Yeah, you're right. What I heard was it's going to help a very small section, of the aging out kids population. So it's a
Okay.
good step in the right direction. Yes, we have to acknowledge that, but
Right.
it's I mean, it's almost like we cannot be happy about it. Fully happy about it.
Right.
So
Right.
let's not settle for it, because if we become, so you're right, it's a good step, and maybe it could lead to the one major step that we really need is that nobody should really age out. I mean, there shouldn't be no
Exactly.
concept
Yeah.
of aging out, according to me. It just doesn't make sense. Just
Right.
because you're 21, you're thrown out of the queue. So hopefully that happens. But yeah, so it's going to just try and help a very small section of kids who are in the aging out process.
Absolutely, it's not the solution we need,
Yeah,
but it's a step in the
it's a step.
in the
Yeah,
direction. I think. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So how did
But
you
the
how
larger
did you
problem still
find these
exists. Yeah.
people though? How did you find your subjects for your movie? Like, was there a process?
Yeah, I mean, just of course, reading articles and then finding people from who are those those people who are instrumental in probably talking about certain things, or maybe they, I mean, if I find, I mean, it happened like, right, so I mean, I can start from like 2015 when I actually started the process of contacting people.
Mhm.
So Immigration Voice, Vikram Desai, from Immigration Voice, I just saw his article. He was featured in some article, and then I
Okay.
just got in touch with him through Facebook, and I said, hey, I'm so and so, I'm working on this film, and I would like to get in touch with you. And I still remember, he's like, do I know you? I said, no, you don't know me, of course not. But I said, I want to talk to you. But he was absolutely generous, and we spoke, and then after that, since then we've been in touch, because he connected me with a lot of people from Immigration Voice, because those were the people who were really, they're working at the grassroots level to make
Mhm.
change, right?
100%.
For high skilled immigrants. And of course, then there are many other allied organizations, and people are members of that. And so one thing, it's of course word of mouth also, right? That you're talking to one family, and then I just let them know that help me reach out to other people. But
Right.
I have to mention here that there were very, very, very few people. They were comfortable with the fact that, oh, you're making a film, which is great, but they were absolutely not comfortable about talking about it, and especially on camera.
Right. And
Yeah,
that's what I was coming to. Like,
it
typically,
was
like,
tough.
in what we have seen in our experience, like, we talk
Yeah,
between each other, like folks who are going through a similar experience. Like, for me and Rahul, like, we talk about all these stresses that we go through. But there's always this I'd say, like, hesitancy in actually coming to a public forum, like, whether it be a newspaper article, or
yeah,
YouTube, or whatever it is, for folks to talk about this. And at the end of the day, that's what's going to get other people to listen, right?
exactly.
It I think there's this stigma around the fact that immigrants who come here, like, you're supposed to lay your head down, do the work, and make the American dream happen. And for some reason, I feel a lot of people feel that talking about their problems, especially navigating through the system, does not make it seem that way, and they would be looked upon differently, and that could be
Yeah.
a reason why. And obviously, this better than anybody else
Not
when
the
making
fear,
this film.
right? I mean, that fear is always going to be there, right? What if someone
Yeah.
sees this and retaliates?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
so
Yep.
that's, no one wants to put their livelihood or their futures or careers at risk, right?
Exactly. Exactly.
So it's I'm sure that's going to be a huge deterrent in folks actually saying, hey, you know what, I hate USCIS, or I hate this, the weight that I'm going to be put through, or what it is. Like, sure, at the back of their head they're like, oh, what if tomorrow something goes wrong again just because I've opened up my mouth.
Yeah, I mean, see, freedom of speech, in true sense, I mean, it's good to have it in the books and as a policy and in the
Yeah.
constitution, right? But for people to feel really empowered that they can actually use it and implement it and practice it, that's a complete different scenario we are talking about.
But
But
see,
it is fair.
that's the
Yeah.
irony, right? Like we pay
Yes.
the taxes as a citizen.
Oh,
Like we pay like taxes like any other citizen, then whatever it is. But everything
Yeah.
else, when it comes to money, the government takes their share. But everything else, like nope, you can't talk, or there's limitations around it.
Earning your own livelihood in today's day and time. I mean, according to me, at any day, in any age, it was necessary. But well, let's not go there. But uh, just depriving somebody just doesn't make sense. It doesn't make
right.
sense because see, one of the characters in my film actually spoke about it. That
Okay.
if you are earning, you're paying taxes.
Yep.
If you're not earning, you're not paying taxes. So, in whose benefit it is, right? If you're a
Oh wow.
dependent, yeah, isn't it? I mean, just think about
That's
it.
yeah, I never thought of it that way. My God, that's crazy. Like it almost sounds like the IRS made the immigration system at this point, right?
I'm sure they don't want to deal with the backlog and processing more taxes. They're like, hey, let's just hold on.
Oh, they'd probably love to do that. It's like more money, right? Like I don't think the IRS should have a problem at this point. But like, yeah, I mean, coming back to this, like how difficult was it for you to like build a film around like such a complex topic, like, immigration? It's not at all easy. Even political parties are messing it up so badly right now, in Congress. And how did you go about like, coming up with, how do you bring about like a coherent message for the film that you've done?
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely very complex. I mean, for people who have to maneuver it day in and day out, also, it, I mean, it's like how do I say? It can completely mess up your brain, according to me, if you have to
Mhm,
just
mhm.
go through the different kind of forms that you have to fill. And let's
Yep.
not forget about the renewals and the amount of money that is involved in all this.
Yep.
Money is a
Yep.
big part of
Oh, yeah.
this. Let's not
Oh
forget
yeah.
that, right? Every renewal, every form. I mean, it's like hundreds and hundreds of dollars. It's not like, few cents or anything. Anyway, that
I
will be
think
a
I
joke.
think as of last month, some even go into the thousands now.
Yes.
Yeah. Should
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
not.
so it's a very complex world of immigration. And for me, I would say, my main objective was that this film has to reach the far interiors and the remotest of places of US, where they
Right.
just know that there are these, people who are outsiders, quote unquote outsiders who come from
Right.
other countries.
Uh-huh.
They are different, right? So but I wanted the objective here is that they need to get an awareness about who these immigrants are, and what do they do, what do they contribute, how do they thrive here, with their contributions. They are law abiding, tax paying residents of this country. Now
Hmm.
if I have to let them know what issues they are facing, which are
Hmm.
immigration issues, which are
Hmm.
extremely complex, with all these technical jargons that you have in our immigration world. That
Right.
was the biggest challenge, because now if I just, I mean, my characters are using words like H1Bs and TS160s and I485 and I140,
Right.
and I'm sitting there, I'm like, okay, when I was interviewing them, in my mind it was like, okay, how I'm going to break this down for a absolutely, I wouldn't say, because see, unless you come across immigration issues, you really don't understand. So
Right.
if a citizen, if a US, somebody who is an American citizen would never know, and I don't blame them, because if they don't have to deal with it, why would they like one fine day let me find about H1B visas? Nobody's going to
Exactly.
do that, Why would I? Would we do that? No, we
No,
won't
we
do
were
that, right?
spot on.
I mean,
Spot
we'll
on.
not bother. So it's exactly the same thing that I said. Okay, if he or she has to be made aware about it, how am I going to do that? So that was the biggest challenge, along with keeping the balance of the human emotions. That
Right.
was
For
always
sure.
my thing that I don't want to make this like an encyclopedia about what is immigration. Let's start with H1B. No, not that kind of, no,
Right.
not that kind of, how do I say,
Like,
the grammar of the film. It has
okay,
to
okay.
be, yeah, it has to be more of a storytelling, of human emotions and everything about the lives of high skilled immigrants. But whenever, so we've kind of, added a lot of animations and lot of text, but it is more about giving, those basic things that you need to understand the plight of high skilled immigrants. Let me put it
Mhm,
that way.
mhm.
Did you
So
have a
of
team
course,
helping you?
yes. I mean, well, it started as a lone soldier, just me, with
Okay,
everything research and production. But then I have this really excellent team now, which has just come together. It has happened very organically. Like I remember in 2017 when we first started filming this film, I reached out
okay,
to my grad school's great friend David Barrow. He was already an accomplished cinematographer, and he had come to San Francisco, to pursue his master's. So that is how we got to know each other. And I just reached
okay.
out to him in 2017 after graduating, after several years after graduating. I said, "Hey, David, I'm making this film. Would you like to, just join me?" He's like, "Yeah, what do we have to do? Anytime with you."
Wow.
So we both
Awesome.
actually went backpacking. I was in California then. He was in Texas. He's still in Texas. And we just went backpacking and came to actually the East Coast for almost like 15
Okay,
days. Just two of us. We were like, he was doing the camera and sound, and I was doing the direction and producing and everything. And we went to four families,
Wow.
one in Atlanta, in Boston. We came to the Massachusetts and Rhode Island area, and then in Pittsburgh and Atlanta, and then we went to Cincinnati. So these were the four, places we covered, and
okay,
we literally
Awesome.
just, it was just two of us, filming for almost these many days, and then I went back and then shot few more stories, and then during the pandemic, I literally had to just reach out to the local cinematographers because I couldn't travel.
oh,
So, so we had few interviews over Zoom, but the
wow,
characters, like I can talk
Wow.
about Lopa, who is the community clinical psychologist, so she actually has done camera herself because she had to, place some of the equipment in her room when I was interviewing her while I was here on Zoom. And then I had to, get a cameraman to go and shoot, more extensive interviews and B-roll. And then they were all masked up and all. So it's been quite a yeah, exciting adventure, to get this all done. And then I shot with Sunana and the doctor couple whose
mhm,
kid is aging out myself. I was literally just one single person doing it because again it was
Wow.
the pandemic time. I didn't really want to carry a crew in, people's homes. It was I just didn't feel comfortable because they were absolutely generous and more than happy, to really, really, express, what they were going through. But I just felt, I have to, in the interest of everybody's, safety and comfort. So we had to, maneuver and, make all these adjustments and, changes. But it was fun. I think it worked out. But yeah, it has come together only because of the, well wishes and, good, I would say, positive vibes of so many friends and, people who are associated with the film. And not to mention now, this was production for animation, and for music, and now, for the post production. It's just fascinating, how.
Let's talk about the music. You
Content-
shared something
Yeah,
very interesting when we were talking on the phone, which I really want to say.
yeah.
Let's talk about the music. Who did the music for the film? There
So
was a very cool
music,
story that you told me.
yeah. So music is composed by Michel Tayyabji. He's like, he's already very, very popular in Hollywood. He's composed films for many, many, many successful films, and he's an Oscar and Emmy nominated music
wow.
composer. And the interesting fact is that 4 years back, actually, I would say before even 2017, before even we, came to the East Coast backpacking, I had interviewed him because this film had started germinating in my mind since 2015. And then I had started interviewing people, right? I went and interviewed him. Somehow, I don't know. I don't even remember honestly how I got in touch with him. Really, I have forgotten that. I have forgotten that link now. But I landed at Michel's studio and I extensively interviewed him about his journey of becoming a citizen here. And I have all this footage of him. And then after cut to last year, I reached out to him and I said, "Hi, Michelle. I hope you remember me." He's like, "Of course." And I'm like, "Do you remember I had interviewed?" And then he asked me, "Yeah, how is it going?" I said, "Yeah, it's going well. But I just wanted to tell you that I'm not using your interview, but I want you to compose for my film." And he was absolutely totally more than happy to
That's
be part of
awesome.
the film. Yeah. And
I
he's
mean, it
done a
must have
great job.
resonated with him quite a bit, right? The cause for him to actually help out in a different way, just
Yes.
to be a part of this
Yeah.
part of the
Yeah. He
film
told me that
project.
because he could empathize with the story, and the stories of all the characters. And in fact, another thing that I can definitely tell that I have lent my voice for the end credits.
Oh,
Yeah,
Oh,
I
wow.
have sung in in the end. Yeah, because I have a background in music. I have learned Indian classical music. My whole family is a family of singers.
Wow.
So
so I
I told him
stalked
about
you quite
that.
I stalked you quite a bit, and I stumbled upon a website of your brother Salil.
Oh my God.
Okay. Yes. Yes.
I've stalked you extensively to prepare for this, and I saw his
Okay.
website. I think
Yeah.
it's Geetanjali.
Yes. Gitanjali Express. Yeah. Nice. Wow, you've really done your research. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, he sings professionally. I don't sing professionally. I did a little bit of singing while I was in Mumbai because all my director and music director friends, they knew that I sing. So even when I was an executive producer, they said, "Would you like to sing for the this
Nice.
song in the television whatever series?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course." So I absolutely volunteered
I mean,
for
it
that.
only
So that
makes
way I
sense now
sang.
that you were working for Antakshari. So
That's spot on, man. That's spot on. That's super
Yeah.
right.
Oh, yeah, no, that was fun. So yeah, Michelle said, "Okay, let's compose something and you can sing for the end credits." So yeah, I've just lent some, vocals. I mean, it's not like extensive,
Wow.
big time, lyrics oriented singing, but it was fun. Yeah, just recording something.
I mean, it's like I just want to like point this out, like the sort of grit and perseverance you need to do something. And again, like giving some of our listeners context. With it, you're not in the like you're not technically part of the system anymore. You're a permanent resident here in the US, and you obviously don't like. I don't want to call it that way.
don't
Like you
exactly.
don't need to be doing this stuff. Like you
I
don't
don't need to be.
need. Yeah, you've like jumped the hurdles. You've crossed the finish line, and like you're like, oh, whatever. Let the other person figure out the stuff, and the sort of energy and effort and grit you've put in, I mean, don't you agree, Rahul? Like, think of it, in the middle of a pandemic, you're talking over Zoom to a local camera crew in another city, and shooting
No,
the stuff.
it's why I resonated so much with the phrase that she said, part of the solution, because
Uh-huh.
that was spot on. That was spot on, right? It, like Sanjay said, you don't need to do all this. Still, you're putting
Yeah.
in so much time and effort to spread our plight out to everyone. Yeah, you've gone through it, right? Don't shut the door behind you.
Yep.
You're actually making an effort to keep it open or make a bigger door if possible.
Or at least shine light that there's a door there, like or it's and I have to commend on that. That's
Yeah.
amazing. Like,
No, yeah, I mean, I agree. I would say as a community also, I have seen it myself, and I understand. I mean, where uh, what you're saying, it's coming. I mean, just to give a context, I know that there are people who have crossed whatever they've gone on the other side, whatever that other side is.
the dark side, in Star Wars terms.
Yeah, it's like some kind of it's like, okay, now they are done, it's like over and done with one part of immigrant life, and now in fact we became citizens in
Oh wow.
2022. Yeah.
Oh,
Did we become in
congratulations.
2022 or 2021 actually? Right. Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah, in 2021 actually. So we became citizens like fairly recently now, in fact. But yeah, as I said, while I was going through whatever immigration issues, after getting the green card, and then after becoming a citizen also, it's almost like, but this is not right. What is happening is not right. It's not fair. It's not justice, to the larger community. So just because I was lucky, or I could get out of
Right.
this whole maze of visas and the bureaucratic ways of whatever hassles that we have to go through, I just feel, I mean, it's extremely sad that, what people have to go through. I mean, can you imagine your 21-year-old daughter, and of an accomplished couple, who are doctors, who are doing so much for the community. They are an extremely accomplished couple. And just looking into your kid's eyes, and, somewhere you have to convey that you will have to leave the country, you will have to self deport just because I didn't get a green card. I mean, I cannot imagine that. Like, gosh, and I have seen it with my own eyes, how they have expressed their story is
Sure.
gut wrenching.
Yeah.
So for me, it was almost like, I have to do this. There is a very
It's
famous phrase in Maharashtra from where I come from. Okay. I
okay.
have to say this. You can use it if you want, or you can edit it, whatever. It's your choice. But they always say that there should be one Shivaji born in every family. Okay. You know
Oh,
Chhatrapati
okay.
Shivaji, right?
Yep, yep. Oh,
Okay.
oh, oh, yes, we know.
Right. There should be a Shivaji born in every family, but not in our family,
Yeah, of
in
course.
the
Of
neighbor's
course.
Oh,
house or
oh,
somebody else's.
oh, wow.
Basically,
Okay.
the idea is Chhatrapati Shivaji was such a valiant king. Everybody knows his stories, right?
Right,
But
right.
Wow.
the risks, the sacrifice, and the absolute the bravery that he had to show, and his whole family had to, back him up. Everybody is like, okay, somebody else should do that work. Why
All
me?
that hard work. Yeah.
So yeah, so that has somewhere. I mean, I'm not as great as Chhatrapati Shivaji. I'm not at all. I'm nowhere near, the valiant king himself. But that has always stayed with me. That if something is not right, if something doesn't, it makes you like feel for that. Why wait for somebody else to, go and fix the problem or even highlight the problem? As I said, for me, my job is here to highlight the problem. Let me try doing it, let me
Right.
take that risk. Let me do that, whatever those sacrifices are needed. So yeah, that was the only attempt.
I'm excited for the movie. Where can we watch it? When is it coming out?
Yes. So we are releasing next week. It's a premiere of the film after 5 years. I would say,
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
it's 5 years in the making. And finally, the baby is ready to come out after 5 years. So it's on March 9th, next Thursday in
Mhm.
Kansas, actually. So Forever Welcome, the nonprofit that Sunaina actually found, along with Welcoming Casey, they have come together and they are putting up this premiere of the film in
Awesome.
Kansas
Yep,
City.
yep,
It's crazy.
yep.
It's such a small world. Kansas City is so close to our hearts because Sanjay and I went to school just 2 hours
Yeah,
from
and
Kansas City
Casey
in
is a
St.
beautiful
Louis.
city. Like
A small town called Rolla.
I
But
love
it's
Casey
pretty cool.
downtown, especially in the summers.
Wow.
Like, and of course, like for those of you who
Yes, it is.
who are listening right now, don't know the history or the connection
Uh-huh.
that Kansas City has with this movie is one of the characters, Sunaina Dumala. She is the spouse of Srinivas Kochibotla, who was actually killed by a white supremacist in 2017, if I'm not mistaken, while he was just out having a drink at a bar with a friend in Kansas. And just speaks to how difficult it was. Like, I mean, I just know like from a few newspaper articles about like how Sunaina had to like overcome this whole immigration system after going through such a personal tragedy, like she had to leave the country and things like that, and they ended up getting some Congress people involved before she could come back or things like that. It just speaks to like, it's everything. Like an immigrant's life in the US is built on a deck of cards, and that foundation is the USCIS. Like literally any decision that you want to do, you want to buy a house or like, even raise kids or like whatever it is, it's just like one single card away from everything falling apart. And with the tech layoffs and everything going on right now, I wouldn't be surprised, like so many people who have had to literally pack up and leave, after spending more than like a decade here building entire lives and communities around them. It sucks, like, and it's such a, this movie I think comes at the right time, like, that a lot of people should know what's going on, right? Like,
The society or the community is just healing from the layoffs.
Yeah, and it's very important for people who haven't been in the system to understand the human element of that. Like it's not a bunch of papers or like just people. When most folks understand, oh, these are like highly skilled people. Like, oh, they'll get a job anywhere, or like they can move any place or any country. It's not. That's not how it works. Like,
And I think what I'm looking forward to the fact is that I'm excited to see the conversation that is going to be initiated once people see this, right? We're going to start talking about it. We're going to start talking about it in public platforms. We're going to share this with people. It's going to touch not just the community because we are so, intimately connected with other colleagues or other people. So everyone's going to see this and they're going to talk about it. They're like, oh shit, is this what everyone has to go to? Because a lot of my colleagues, they don't understand. They think it's you come here, you're given a visa and you just work. They don't know I have to get out of like
that's it.
500,000 people applying. They don't know I have
Yeah.
to wait 50 years to get a green card. I'm just excited to see the conversation
Yep.
that is going to start. Like, that's what I'm looking forward to.
It's almost like a reality check. When you
Yep.
have people around
Yep.
who are working on
Yep.
visas and they are going about living their lives, but people around don't know, what their life is. They feel like, oh, they are just like us. People who are, of course, who believe in inclusion and, diversity, they
Exactly.
don't really consider as outsiders. They are like, okay, you're doing a good job, then you're, one of us, which is great. However, there is a layer to our lives as an immigrant, especially if you're on H1B, especially if you're on H4 and green card backlog. So I really feel that aspect of immigrants around. I hope people empathize with that and get curious about it, at least. Like, it's almost like I feel somebody who is on H4 EAD, who is a doctor, working in the remote areas
Yep.
of US, where probably in 80 miles radius, there is no other doctor than that one single doctor. And it not be an Indian doctor. It could be from any
Yeah.
country, who is on a
Mhm.
visa, who is stuck in a green card backlog. So if that population sees this film and then gets curious about this doctor, that I want to know, is he or is she going through something like that? At least, be curious about it. If they are comfortable talking about it, ask them, and then probably reach out to your senators and people from from the bureaucracy who can really make something about it, right? So that is,
Yep.
yeah,
That's true.
yeah,
And so you said the release is on
yeah,
March 9th, right,
exactly.
in Kansas. Are you planning to have more screenings around different parts of the US? Like, is it coming on any streaming platforms or?
Yeah. Yeah. In fact, that's the plan.
Okay.
So we have a two-prong approach for the distribution of the film. So
Okay.
one is the traditional one where, as an independent film, we will definitely be going through the film festival route, all over, I mean, in the US and around the world.
Okay.
That's the objective.
Okay.
Then PBS is another platform. Then we are
Oh wow.
definitely, working out on, streaming platform, some,
Nice.
yeah, somewhere. If so it's all in the works right now. So that approach is all in the works. But the other approach is about actually, reaching out to communities and organizations and corporations, by having these public screenings. So I'm
Nice.
absolutely open about that, so that we can basically, and it could be in any avenue, right? It could be a university, it could be a library, a public library, it could be a company, who employs, immigrants, and, they just want to screen the film, or like something like what Serena and her foundation is doing, right? With welcoming Casey. So that is another approach we are taking, for the distribution of the film, because the idea is that it has to reach out to the masses
Right.
and
Right.
not get restricted
Right.
only, in the immigrant community. So that is, I would say, the North Star. Yeah.
So
for
so
the
if I
film.
may ask, like, so if somebody wants, like, there's like a public community that wants to do a screening, do they directly get in touch with you through your website
Yes.
to? Okay,
Uh-huh.
great. So, and yeah, for our listeners, we'll be adding show notes about the website where you can actually go and check out the trailer, and also more information about Vidyut and the rest of our work, and the documentary itself. And of course, I also want to point out the fact, like, this is a personal project of hers, and it's probably taken a lot of financial resources as well. And so she's also set up a fundraising campaign. So if any of you are interested in playing your part, helping her out and the rest of the team, I mean, it just helps get this message out to more people. That's
Right.
all this film does. And if you do a part, even if not anything else, you can contribute something financially. That would
I
be
think every
fantastic.
dollar
And
will count and will go a long way.
yeah, and we'll be adding.
Even if you don't want to do that,
Yep,
just
for
Yes,
sure.
I
like talk about the movie. Talk about it on your platform of choice. Talk about it on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, any platform that you're comfortable. Just talk about the movie. You just say you're excited to watch it. Maybe after you've seen it, talk what you've seen, what appealed to you, what did not. Just put it out there. I think at this point, any help that we can get in spreading the word will go a long way. And you're actually not just helping Vidyut, you're actually helping yourself, because
Yeah,
the what you're
exactly.
doing right now will eventually come back in dividends and help you out in the long run if we get the amount of traction that we hope this is going to get, right?
And it's not just like for folks who understand the system, like the US immigration system, anybody for that matter. Like, just by spreading the word about this film, like getting people a little bit more educated about how complex and difficult it is to navigate this system. If that actually helps, some congressperson like understand this better, like, oh, this is actually a very big problem. We need to do something about it. That you are doing your part, because America is a society built by immigrants, and immigrants have like contributed so much to this country. They've done everything, and just doing something, a small token appreciation of what this all these generations of immigrants have done to this great country. Like it would, yeah, it would multiply, like compound like crazy, as far as I understand. Or so what's next for you, Vidyut? Like after the launch of Alien, and of course, there's obviously going to be, you're involved in the screening, distribution, all those streaming companies and festivals process and stuff. But
I think Vidyut's probably going to be the next senator from Connecticut.
for me, no
Yeah,
way, no
you're going
aspirations
to get inside
whatsoever.
the system, Vidyut.
No, I'm happy. I'm happy being a, how do I say, a catalyst. Who can probably inspire and motivate change. As much as I can. And as a creative, person, I think, yeah, I'm interested in those pursuits for sure. So yeah, definitely, I'll continue filmmaking. I do have few ideas, but for the next project, of course. But for now, yeah, I have to nurture this baby called Alien.
Any sneak peeks into what's cooking inside your head?
I know.
Future
Maybe for
projects?
the next episode. Yes.
that's our hook for bringing Vidyut the next time. Hopefully, she comes back again.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. I would love to. And yeah.
Exclusive podcasting rights have been backed by Area 51.
Yeah. No, but for now, I mean, I really feel for people, if they can come together and help us, because we made this film, with a lot of love. It's a labor of love. And it really needs the support and traction, from people now. It's almost like if we can generate that momentum, then we can create that impact. We can, and even as I said, if we want to have, I mean, there are solutions. We know there are solutions there, to improve the situation for high skilled immigrants and the absolutely absurd and inhuman backlog.
Mhm.
However, the problem, I think, there is a disconnect. That there is no acceptance, there is no acknowledgement, there is no awareness, there
Yep.
is no education
Yep.
of this problem, right? So we are trying our best, to kind of, make people aware about it. And I really feel that, if you're creating policies and all this politicians coming together and finding out ways to solve the problem, but unless you know who are you dealing with, as we call in our user
Right.
experience world, these are the representatives, these are the personas, but
Hmm.
they are live people, of course. They are not any fictional people that we are addressing in this film, but these are live people, these are real examples,
Right.
but these are the representation. And in a very small way, I mean, we all have unique situations and circumstances people have gone through, so but these five families have gone through certain situations and circumstances, and we have tried to throw some light on that,
Hmm.
and just giving a perspective, just giving you a sense of what it is to be a high skilled immigrant in this country. So if people can get that hook, that okay, this is what it takes and this is what it is going to take the amount of effort to improve the situation, I think that will be a good success for the film.
Oh, and
And I'd just like to thank you on behalf of everyone, from us, from literally
yep,
everyone in the system. Thank you for actually taking the time, putting in the effort, and seeing this through to the finish line.
Thank you. Thanks for having
Uh,
me.
we really appreciate that
yeah,
in
no,
everything
it's
you've
a
done
mammoth
for the
undertaking,
Indian.
and like, with all things said, goes back to what I was saying earlier. Like, you don't have like a sort of necessity at this point in time to do something like this. Like, but you've
Yeah.
taken the mantle and you've done like a phenomenal job bringing this out into the world. And yeah, I just like to add on to what Rahul said. It's a great pleasure in, having you here, and thank you very much for doing what you've done.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Seriously, this was fun. This is really a fun chat we had, and I hope you get something out of it
Oh,
to
for
put in your
sure,
episode.
for sure, for
Yeah.
sure, definitely.
And
Yeah.
brings us to the end of this amazing episode. Uh, we're glad to have you with us, Vidyut. Hopefully, you come back in a couple of months, and then we have a chat on how it's been.
Yep.
The release, the reception, what the what the testimonials are from people who've seen the movie, and we'd love to have you back to talk a little bit more about that. So I hope we see you in a couple of months
Yes, of course.
to
I would
grace
love
our
to. Yeah,
podcast one.
definitely. Anytime. Thank you so much,
Awesome.
both of you. Yeah, I think this is really fun. And to all the listeners of your podcast, yes, please support Alien in whichever shape and form you can. Definitely watch the film when it comes on a streaming platform, and we'll definitely, keep updating everybody about the progress and
Yep.
whatever new updates we have to the film on our website and through Sanjay and Rahul.
Yep, for sure. And like, if you guys are interested, you can just sign up on the link that we provide in our show notes, where once the film comes available on any streaming platforms, you'd get an email notification where you can watch it as well. So that's something we are going to add as well. So yeah, thank you so much, Vidyut, and thank you everyone for taking the time for listening to this episode, and this amazing documentary that she's made. We hope everybody listening, goes and have a look at this, and probably spread the message as well, because like Rahul said, it helps all of us. Like, it's a system level change that you can bring about just by sharing that message.
And as always, let us know how you liked the episode. If there's something that you liked or didn't like, shoot us an email. Tell us about it. If you'd like to get in touch with Vidyut, we can let us know. We'd be more than happy to share her email address. And if you want to reach out to her and see how you'd like to be involved with the screening of Alien, it's pretty exciting to get your friends and your community members together to watch it. So reach out, and we'll be more than happy to connect you with Vidyut. As always, see you next time.
Bye.